there's so many conferences now. I know several of us are heading down to DynamicsCon coming up
Right.
here next month, which is super exciting. And Liz will actually talk about that in a minute. So that one's super exciting, but there's just so many of them out there now. It's lots of community. So welcome. I'm glad you chimed in, and there are definitely more. You'll see the rotating slide. One of
Yeah.
them has a listing of all the different, and I know you can't. They're not hot links, I don't think, through here unless we're sharing from PowerPoint. But we can definitely send that slide over. You can check out, or if you just, frankly, if you just Google or Bing those communities, Microsoft's page has a listing, and the Doug user group has also a great discussion forum that you can use for interaction with other users and strike up meetings like this. There's always people who are interested. So welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Liz, why don't we maybe use that, because I called you out, I'll use that as a segue to hand over to you to talk a little bit about Doug and some of the exciting stuff you guys have coming up and going on.
Sounds good. And apparently you're going to have me share my slides. Thought you would have them in your deck. So hold on one moment while I get them open.
Sorry, we should do that.
While I'm getting my slides loaded, yes, huge thank you for everybody for coming on today. Welcome to the Canadian National CRM User Group Meetup, for being hosted by our lovely fearless leaders of Malcolm and Diane and Mr. McCutcheon. Let me just share my screen. If you have not heard of Dynamics User Group, I'm just going to go through very, very quickly because I think many of you have been here before. But Dynamics User Group is a global community. We're relatively new to the space. Our community is free and our membership is based for you as an individual. We cover all of the Dynamics 365 products, including Business Central, customer engagement, finance and operations, as well as Dynamics GP and the Power Platform. To date, we've grown to over 44,000 community members worldwide, and we're super, super excited about that. One of our main pillars here at Doug is that we really are here to ensure that we're providing as much free education and training and networking opportunities for everyone in the community as possible. So we do have multiple programs. This Doug meetup that you're joining today is just one of them. And as Malcolm mentioned, we do have online forums, we offer webinars, and we are the host of the DynamicsCon conferences, both live and virtual, which I'll talk about in just a minute. We do have an online training platform as well. Those classes do have fees associated with them, as they are technical trainers in our space, and we share our revenue with them. And then our YouTube channel has a ton of videos. I think we're pushing 700 videos now, either from our past DynamicsCon virtual conferences or recordings from meetups that just like this one. So this event is being recorded, and you will find a link to that and access that on our YouTube channel as well. There's a QR code if you want to join as a free member, please do so. And in addition to these meetups that you're joining here, we are looking at doing some regional events in 2024 as well. One coming to Toronto, Canada here in August, and the team is going to have to get together very soon and start planning that. But if you're in other areas of North America, there are some other options for you. We already held our Pacific Northwest one, and it was a huge success. So we're looking forward to coming to Ohio, probably at the Atlanta area in the Southeast. The Northeast will be near Philly, and then down in Texas as well. If you want to go to a larger conference with over 240 sessions, we would love to see you at DynamicsCon Live. Our agenda is basically baked. We're going to be in Denver May 13th through the 16th, and lots of content here. We do have a promo code for you to get 15% off of your registration, which is here shown in the upper left corner. And I can also drop it in chat for everybody too. We are expecting to have 2,000 community members. So Jamish, you were mentioning Community Summit North America. That is another option that happens in the fall. That is not an event or a conference that Dynamics User Group hosts. That's hosted by another user group community. So just wanted to clarify and make that difference for you. We do also have a pretty close connection, and with the folks who are running our Dynamics Mind, not our, the Dynamics Mind event. If you happen to be European based, I would call this a sister event to DynamicsCon Live. They'll be doing something very similar to the community here in the US, but will be in Slovenia the last week in May. And if traveling is hard on your company's budget, we are very pleased to be bringing back DynamicsCon virtual as well. This event will be held in November. It'll be a full day of free content. And we do have our session submissions open now. We just opened it 11 days ago. And what's great about this event is all of the content comes directly from you as community members. So if you have a topic that you would love to share your expertise on, very much encourage you to submit your session idea and your session topic. Once the session submission closes, we will open up and turn all those submissions over to our community members who get to vote. So our top voted sessions will be the ones that you will see on our agenda, which will be on November 13th of this year, covering all of our product lines that we focus on as well. Happy to answer any questions anyone has. Otherwise, I will hand it back to you because I know everybody wants to hear from Ashley soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz, for the overview. And I'm very excited to be heading down and seeing you guys all in a little over a month. But as I said, it feels like it's going to be in just a couple of days because it's coming very fast.
It's coming fast and furiously. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. I'm sure you guys are working hard to get everything set up and everything. And just remember that we're all there to collaborate and work and learn from each other. And if little things are off, that's okay. We probably won't even notice. It's fine. So
yes.
So as we wrap that part up, we're going to head into our content portion of the day. So I'm excited to have Ashley here, who's going to join us. Now, Ashley, you're in Dallas, but as we established earlier, from all over the US, but namely formerly in Wisconsin and born in, where did you say?
Wyoming.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't put the word together. Wyoming. So excited to have Ashley here with us. Ashley, we've known each other for quite a long time. I don't remember when we first met, but it's been a while. And so I've, I think, co-presented with Ashley in the past before and seen Ashley speak and had many a conversation with Ashley about all kinds of different topics. So really excited to have her join us today and share some tips and tricks on the XrM Toolbox. And as you'll learn here in a few minutes, if you're not familiar with that tool, you need to be because it's phenomenal. So Ashley will give us a good overview of that. I personally have to duck out early, so I'm going to drop here after a few minutes, and I apologize for that, but Rick and Diane will wrap up when things are done. And so with all of that, I will hand it over to you, Ashley, to take the stage and share whatever you have to share and go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Malcolm. And yeah, I always think of it as like, there's no first memory, like you've just always been there, you know, like I don't remember the first time we met. It's you've just always been around. So so thanks everyone for jumping on to talk today about the XrM Toolbox. So like Malcolm said, my name is Ashley Steiner. I have been working in this space for over 14 years now. My screen's still up. Okay. So right now I work with a company called Elevate Digital. They are a partner based out of North Carolina. Even though I'm here in Dallas, I work remotely, like I think probably most of us do. I'm the director of business applications. Really just means I'm responsible for all technical delivery for all of our projects. I'm tailoring the conversation today around though from the admin perspective. Of my 14 years of experience, you can see here the majority have been as an admin working within customer organizations. So how to work with end users, training, maintaining the same system year after year. That has been something that I have a lot of experience and I'm actually really passionate about, even though I don't do it anymore. And I was also awarded an MVP as well. So getting into today, I always kind of like to start with, what are you going to walk away with personally? Like, why are we even having this conversation? So like Malcolm said, if you're not familiar with the XRM Toolbox, I hope by the end of today you have it downloaded and start to use it. It's a really fantastic tool. So how to use it, how to install it, and then I'm going to talk through actually demo 6 of my favorite tools. I always kind of start this with what have I used in the last week, to show like how valuable it is, right? That I'm using this every day. But at the end, I also have a list of like 50 that are my favorite that I probably use throughout a month or two. But although all of the ones that we're going to demo today, I've actually personally used in the last 6 days to help make things a little bit easier. So the agenda, we're going to talk about what is the XrmToolBox, Toolbox, how to navigate it, and then actually get through the demo. So first of all, what is the XrmToolBox? Toolbox? It's a Windows application. It's not part of Dynamics or the Dataverse. Just it's not a Microsoft tool. It's actually given to us by some really awesome developers out there who have given their time and talents away for free. I like to say they are giving this away. I have this here. The best part about the tool is that it's free to us. I would recommend if you use the tool, they do have like a buy me coffee button on there to kind of thank them for their time and efforts, because it is really a volunteer and they're sharing their knowledge with us. I looked today at the number. The last time I gave this presentation, I think 3 weeks ago, the number was under 350, and today there's 359 tools. So they are constantly adding new things into the XRM Toolbox to offer more to us. And I've heard people say this in the past. I kind of put it there in quotes. It's if a task in Dynamics is taking a long time, or it's very redundant, there's probably something in their XRM Toolbox to make it easier, and also just more time friendly. So that's what the XrM Toolbox is. So how do you actually get the XrM Toolbox? I put there the URL. It's just xrmtoolbox.com, pretty easy to get to. You're going to click on the big green button here to download the latest version, and extract as the zip file and run the exe, which is the actual application itself. I always like to warn people, if you do have a company that secures your device and like you need admin rights to download this, it is safe, right? So maybe send this to your IT department, have them at least take a look at it, what it is, but you might need your IT on the phone to kind of give you admin rights to download it. So I've worked at organizations where I've had to do that before, but if you have full admin rights to your computer, you'll have no issues. So actually getting around the toolbox, so once you have it open, there's different areas. Obviously, you want to connect your XrM Toolbox to the Dataverse. I like to say that it's not just Dynamics, right? You can use this with Power Apps, Canvas apps, and I think there are even tools in here for the different Dynamics ERP systems, but don't quote me on that because I do not work with ERP. So you'll first connect it to the environment that you want to use the XrM Toolbox through. And once we jump into the demo, we'll actually start with how do you create that connection to your Dataverse. The next is the tools. You can see there that it's going to show you all of the different tools that you have installed into your personal toolbox. And you get those from the tool library. So that's actually the picture that I have up on the screen today, that those are all 359 tools that you have available for you to install. You can search. I really like the search feature because I don't know the name of every tool, right? There's 359 as of yesterday. Who knows if that number's gone up? And so, if I'm searching or looking for something to help with security or data, views, sometimes I just put those keywords in there to try to help narrow down what I'm looking for. And obviously there's a lot of different things in there to try. So sometimes it might take a couple of installations to really find the tool that's going to meet your needs. But once you know what it is, you have it there forever. They also do offer this category area. You can see here under the 5. You can see right now I have it listed to all, but they do actually break the tools into category for you, kind of like administration, data security, things like that, developer. So they try to filter those tools for you as well. Just so you don't have the full list. And then this is the full list of the tools. You'll see the name of it, who actually created it, the name is there. So you can give them a big thank you when you see them in person at a conference. And then also just a brief description of what the tool does. If you do go to the XrmToolBox site, there is more documentation on what the tool actually does. Like there will just be some notes on, what it can do. Sometimes there's screenshots. It really just depends on what the developer of the tool provides. But there is more information on the website as well if you want to start there with your search for the right tool. So how do you actually install a tool? So there are 359 tools, like I said, but that doesn't mean that you have to install all of those into your own personal toolbox. I always like to say you build your toolbox of the tools that you are going to use, the ones that are going to help you throughout your day. And then if you find something not to be useful, or hey, this didn't accomplish what I need it to, you can also uninstall tools so that way it doesn't muddy up your toolbox so you can easily find things. So to install them, you're just going to select the tool that you want to install, and then you just click the install button. It's pretty easy. Most of them take just like 10 seconds to install. It doesn't take a long time. And then at that point, it would move into your tools area, which is what this looks like. So these are tools that I have personally installed. And then you can uninstall them as well, like I said. So if, let's say, that the access checker down here at the bottom, maybe this isn't quite accomplishing what I needed it to. It's not providing, the right details. I can uninstall it so that way I don't, try to use it again in the future. Or I know, that it's not something that's going to help, meet my needs. Again, the categories are here on the left-hand side. So even on the tools that you've installed, you can really narrow down and find what you're looking for. And then, or you can search up here as well. This is a search bar. So you can search if you kind of know the name, like I said, like a keyword like view or security, things like that. So before we actually jump into the demo portion, I just wanted to pause. I tend to talk and just talk really fast. So just wanted to pause to see if there are any questions before we jump into demo. All right, I will go ahead and keep going. So the tools that we're going to talk about today are, as an admin, probably the top 6. Well, I mean, one of them wasn't around when I was an admin. I wish it would have made my life a lot easier. But I think our big ones, there's a really strong use case for all of them as an admin, but even as a consultant, working on the partner side, I personally have used every single one of these within the last week on projects that I've been working on, or showing the client, they had a use case, showing those admins, say, hey, the XrmToolBox can actually do this a lot easier for you, or provides a shortcut to accomplish these things that you're looking to do. So we're going to talk about today the data transporter, the user settings utility, the personal view manager, the model-driven app copier, user team role assignment, and user security manager. You'll see here that there's a lot around like security and roles. As an admin, that was probably one of the biggest things that I had to do, is make sure that people have the right security to do things. So wanted to highlight a couple of those today. So let me go ahead and pull up the toolbox, and we will start here on the home page. I have a couple of them already open. We'll close just for ease of use. So the first thing that I want to do is show you how to actually connect the toolbox to an environment, right? So you want to connect it to Dataverse. The nice thing is that you can connect it to multiple Dataverse environments. So let's say you're an admin and you have, a development environment, right, that you're building everything, and you have a testing, a QA environment, and then your production. You would want to connect it to all 4 of those environments, because obviously you wouldn't want actions that you're taking in dev to then show in production as well. So to connect to a new environment, I like to use this down here at the bottom. You can also use the connect up here with the lightning bolt. You can see here that I do have several environments already enabled, but to create a new connection, I'm just going to click new connection here. I use the Microsoft login control. If anyone else has a better method, feel free to share in the chat or speak up. This is the one that I find most easiest to use, especially if you're have an online environment. So when you get to this page, you're going to click the open Microsoft login and you're going to choose Office 365 since you're online. At this point, you're then going to type in your username and password. And I have that pulled up. I'm just going to copy and paste from my 1Password. If you're not using 1Password today, I would highly recommend it. It makes things very easy. And then click login. And from there, it's going to find all of the environments that login has access to from an online perspective. So I want to actually connect it to my sandbox environment today, and I'm going to hit login. Sometimes it'll ask you to validate with the Authenticator app, depending on your security settings. I'm already logged into that account on this computer, so it doesn't ask me. And then I just go ahead and name the environment. I name this my sandbox development environment, and then just hit finish. And you'll see that it's created successfully, and it'll now appear here in your listing of environments. You only connect to one environment at a time. Obviously, that helps with making sure that you're not making changes in the wrong environment. And I would always recommend to test, if you can, test what you're going to do with the XrmToolBox in a development or sandbox environment before you do it in production. There are some things that are really difficult to reverse. If you do them, like deletions are difficult, things like that. Not impossible with the recycle bin. You'll see that in my list of favorite tools. But always make sure that you try things out in the dev environment first. So we're going to use the dev environment today and go ahead and hit connect here. And you'll see that it shows down here that it's connected to the sandbox environment. So the first one we're going to talk through today is the data transporter. So I'm going to go up here and just go ahead and search in my toolbox. You'll see anything that has anything to do with data appears. So it has data either in the name or in the description. And I'm going to go ahead and start out with this one here, the data transporter. So what the data transporter does is it allows you to easily move data from one environment to the other. I find this to be very helpful, especially in a couple of different instances. The first is when you're doing an implementation or you're creating like new base data. And by that, I mean like business units or option set, or not option set, but like lookup. So let's say you create a lookup for the industry rather than using the out of the box pick list because it's just easier for people to find things. I would always recommend using the data transporter for that because then the GUID will be the same. You can't move views in a managed solution where GUIDs are different in those like views that you're creating. So always use this for base data. The other example is if you're testing out a migration or importing data, things like that, and let's move it into a lower environment. This could be potentially easier to move data than up to your production environment, or if you're just updating like one field and you updated it in UAT just to make sure it looked okay, and then you want to move it up to your production. So you'll see here up at the top, you have the ability to select your source. So my dev environment is my source, and then I select my target. So I'm actually going to move it from my dev to my production environment. And it'll connect those two, and then you'll see that I have all of those tables that are in both of those environments will be available to me. So all I would need to do here is click account. You can see I've already done one, so it does remember my selections from the last time I did this. I could select all if let's say that I'm creating new records and I just want to carry all data over. Or let's say that I'm only updating, a couple of fields. I added data to the rating and the type fields in dev, and I only want to update my records in production. How I do that up here is that I have the ability to create, update, or delete. Be very careful with that delete, because if it doesn't find a matching GUID, it's going to remove that record. And in this case, let's say I just want to update my records rather than create new ones. From here, you can actually preview the data that's going to be updated. And this, because I don't have data in my development, it doesn't show anything, but what it would do, let's go ahead and hit create here. And we actually get a list of accounts. Oh, nothing's appearing for us. Let's do everything. Sorry, guys, this is a terrible demo, but what would happen is you'd get a list of all of the accounts with their ID and their name that would actually be created or updated in that environment. The next thing is, what if you only want to move like a certain subset of accounts, right? Maybe they're owned by a specific person or they fall into a specific industry, things like that. You can actually filter your data as well. It doesn't have to be everything that's in your environment. So if you choose your filter option here, you can throw fetch XML in here to filter down your data to what you're looking for. Oh, and this is why it's filtering, because I do have some, like I said, it does remember what you put in here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. There's two different ways that you can get fetch XML. Obviously, use the fetch XML builder here in the XrmToolBox. It's a great tool. I am a little bit lazier, so I just build an advanced find and grab the XML there from the advanced find. So, you know, whichever one is easier for you. I'm going to go ahead and hit close here, and this will actually give us some results now. So you can see here, these are all accounts that do not exist in the production environment, and it can tell you what action it's going to take. So none of these records exist, so there's no updating that needs to happen, but it will create all of these records if I was to go ahead and hit transfer data. And then from here, I would just hit transfer data, and then it would give me a success at the end saying that this data has been moved. Any questions on the data transporter?
Have you seen any limits in the volume of data you can move over?
I haven't seen limits, but I don't think I've ever done this for more than a couple thousand at a time. I can't remember if I've done more than that. Because again, I use it pretty much for that base information. If I'm doing like a data migration for accounts, I would, you know, that those GUIDs don't necessarily matter. So I would typically just do the data migration into each of those environments separately. But
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, I've done a couple thousand and it's worked just fine.
And it's going to bring over things like activities and attachments as well?
It won't. You will have to do all of those separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thought so. Thank you.
Yep. All right, we will go ahead and move on to our next one. Is the user settings utility. This was probably one of my favorite tools as an admin. One of the things that was, it will tell you if there's an update. I'm not going to update today, but I probably should the next time I use it. This was one of my favorite tools, and the reason for that is it is really painful to get users to follow directions. If you've ever worked with salespeople, you know exactly what I mean. No offense if anyone on the call is a salesperson. But when you do have a new user, let's say, or you make a change that would require people to change their settings, I used to have to call people like individually and be like, okay, now share your screen and let's walk through your personal settings and make sure your time zone is correct. So the discovery of this tool just made my life so much easier. What you can see here is I loaded in my users. It does filter it by a view here. I'm just going to do enabled users. It's easiest. And what I can do is I can actually scroll down and I can find a user. And what I could do is or you could select multiple. Let's say that you want to check everybody because you have a change, or you want to select a couple people and you want to say, oh, I actually want to change all of their time zones. I always lose it here. Time zone, maybe I want to change their time zone, everyone to Eastern time, right? Because, you know, maybe we're using a tool in the system, you know, that requires everyone, regardless of where they are, to be on the Eastern time zone. Or if I have a new user, it allows me to come in here and set their changes. What's also really nice is you can see what someone's current settings are. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, all of my activities are being created at the wrong time and they're syncing to my Outlook calendar and they're 2 hours behind or ahead of where they should be. What you can do is you can come in here, select their name, and actually see what their current settings are. So let's say Rahel was actually in the Mountain Time zone. Well, when she creates activities in Dynamics, it's going to show Eastern, and then it would be synced to her calendar as Eastern as well. When she maybe meant to put it at 3 o'clock Mountain, now it's 5 o'clock because it's Eastern time. So, so it would be 3 o'clock Eastern, which is actually 1 o'clock her time. So this allows you to change just somebody's individual information so that you can see what it is today, make sure that there are no issues or errors, and then you can change them one by one, or like I said, in mass as well. And Diane, yes, the onboarding is probably the biggest use case for it. So rather than having to like I said, call somebody, sit on the phone, maybe send them a video of how to update their settings, you can just do it for them. Any questions on, oh, and then just to update, you'll click this update user settings up here once you make the changes that you want to make, and then just click update here and it'll tell you if there are any failures. Yes, I see a question.
Yes. Where are these settings? Are these on CRM?
Yes, they are the CRM settings, and I can actually pull up CRM. So these are what we would call the personal settings. I guess I don't actually have it open. Oh, I do. So in your gear settings up here, or COG as they call it in Europe, I'm not sure if Canada, which one you call it, but these are those personalization settings that are right here. So it's personal to each user.
To affect staff part of it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, the next tool we're going to talk about is the Personal View Manager. As a, let's see. Ooh, do I not have this one downloaded? Let's say I just used it, so I must have uninstalled it. Now you can see me install a tool, which is great. Personal View Manager. I think I uninstalled it as an example to show someone how to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this. What's great about the Personal View Manager and how I use it as an admin is, let's say somebody calls you and says, hey, my view's not working, it's not showing the right data. You have no idea what view they're looking at, and probably 9 times out of 10, you don't have access to their view, right? Because they either created a custom view or maybe somebody shared a view with them that you don't have access to. And then again, you're having to share screens and it's pretty painful. What the Personal View Manager allows you to do is see all of the personal views that a user has assigned to them. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to myself. Actually, Steiner, and then I can see get views. Oh, no personal views found. Let's see if Jason has any. There we go. So you'll see all of the personal views that a person has associated with them. So whether they're the owner or even if they just have access to it. The other great use case here is if somebody leaves the company. So let's say you have a sales manager who has created all these awesome views for their team, and they leave the company, and now you don't have access to their views, or you have to get their password and change it and go through that whole path. I don't know if anyone else has done that, but definitely done that before. This is a much safer and more secure way to get access to their views when somebody leaves. So what you can do from here is see the views that they have, and let's say, okay, Jason has this view. I want to be able to see it and edit it myself as well, because somebody is asking for access to it. And then what I can do is I can share it with myself, or I can even share it with a different user. So if somebody is saying they need access to something and they don't have it, I can go ahead and share it with them, or I can assign it to them directly if, for the example that somebody has left the company. So this one was pretty powerful as an admin because you never know what views people have out there. There is another similar XrmToolBox tool called Personal Artifact Manager. It is similar, but it also does include charts and dashboards and not just views. That one is helpful as well. You do have more options as far as like sharing and things like that with the personal view manager. So if you're doing views, I prefer this one, but the artifact manager would give you access to charts and dashboards as well. Any questions on this tool? Is it, can you say, is it Macon? Macan, how do you say your
Sorry.
name?
This is, yeah, it's Macan.
Macan, thank you.
With Colliers Canada. Yes. I have a question about the views. Sorry if it's a basic question. So these views are the advanced finds, like you when you go create a view, or is it something else?
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's when like a user would create an advanced find or a personal view for themselves.
And by assigning them, is it going to remove from that person?
It would.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And that's why the share options are nice, right? Because if you just want to give yourself access to it, you could just give yourself read and write. And then they would still have access to it as well.
Thank you. Very useful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Ashley, I just have a quick question. Is there something in the XRM toolbox that will give you a description of what each of these are and whether they're current? Or because what worries me is you could select one of these things and it's not compatible with, you know, the current version of software. Like, is there anything that sort of gives you that comfort level that you're not going to break something if you use one of these?
That's a really good question. So that's why there are updates. You could see when I opened up the user settings utility, there was an update. The developers are constantly coming in and updating their tools. If there is like an update to Dynamics or Dataverse, things like that, with Microsoft, there could be instances where maybe they haven't updated it yet, and you could provide that feedback if something doesn't work the way you expect it to, which is why I always recommend you try it in a development environment, because you could always just go to a backup if it doesn't work like you're expecting it to. So yeah, but I will say,
Okay.
pretty regularly they're updating the tools to meet any new standards that Microsoft has put into Dynamics.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think you also have to be admin to be able to run this, right, and perform these.
Yes.
So we assume that you have the skills to know what you're doing.
That's a good point. So in theory, any user of the system could come in here and connect to it, but it is going to rely on your security permissions that you have in Dynamics. So you won't be able to delete people's stuff. You won't be able to edit things. A user would get bored very quickly because they actually could not do very much with it. So a user could download it and try to use it, but it's not going to do much for them. So that's a good point. A system admin role is really the kind of person that should be using the toolbox.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you one more question here. Is there such thing for same tool for dashboards? Say, like I received requests that I like that guy's dashboard. I want to have the same thing, same view. So if the XRM is capable of doing this, if there is a dashboard, they should be able to share that view, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the personal view manager just does the views. So obviously there's views that are behind those dashboards. So you would have to share those views as well. But the personal artifact manager actually gives you access to dashboards as well. And I don't know if in our dev environment anybody has. So this might not be a great demo, but let's say that you'll see here that it gives you views, dashboards, and diagrams, which is actually charts. I don't know if the verbiage changed at some point. There aren't any. Yeah, I just don't know if we have any in our dev environment. But you'll see here, this does give you dashboards, and then you can decide if you want to assign. The copy and assign is just giving them read access to it, and then you can select the people you want to share that dashboard with. I don't know if that answered your question.
It did.
Okay.
And I just have to install that personal artifact. I wouldn't have guessed that this would be related to the dashboard. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, like I said, sometimes half the battle is finding the tool that's going to do what you need it to. Yeah. So I do see a question Is there a tool that you can use to move a security between environments? Yes, absolutely. I don't have that on my list to demo today. I don't have the name of it off the top of my head, but I could get it for you right after this call. And is that Jared? Is that who asked that question? Is that how you say your name? I will make sure that I get you an answer though on the name of the tool, but there is definitely a tool that can do that for you, that can move security roles from environment to environment. So I'll make sure that that gets to Rick, Dan, and Malcolm, and they can send that out to the group. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one. This one I wish I would have known about a lot sooner. Sorry, I wish I thought I had all of these downloaded. I just used them all. So the next one I have here is the model-driven apps copier. This tool is fantastic and saves you so much time. So as we're all aware, right, sometimes you don't want to use the out-of-the-box model-driven apps like the Sales Hub and the Customer Service Hub, because maybe you want to modify it so people only see certain things, or maybe you have 4 different sales teams and they need to see different type of information. So you want custom apps, right? That's why these model-driven apps exist, so that you can create custom ones. But maybe you want to start from something. You don't want to have 2 screens up next to each other and, creating everything to look the same. But there is no copy model-driven app function inside of the Maker portal. But this allows you to do that. So let's say that I want to copy the Sales Hub. It provides here all of the information. I can put it into a solution if I wanted to, rather than just having it live outside of a solution. I want to name it. So this is my inside sales, perhaps. And then my unique name will automatically appear. I could put in a description. I could put in a URL. So let's say at the end, it just says inside sales, and I could even change the default icon. And then just hit my copy button. And what'll happen is it'll create a brand new model-driven app inside of my environment, and it will include the sitemap. It'll include everything that this model-driven app has. So even if you have maybe, like I said, maybe you have 4 different sales teams, you could copy this, edit the app, and then just copy the edited one and make just some slight changes to it. So it does save quite a bit of time. And I wish I don't know when this got added, but I wish I knew about it years ago. Would have definitely saved me a lot of time. This one's pretty easy. There's not a ton to show because all you do is hit copy and you're good to go. Any questions on this one? All right, the last 2 do have to do with security. So I know it's not going to be exactly what Jared had asked for, but the first one we're going to talk about is it's called the user team role assignment. What it allows you to do is I'm going to load in all of my users here, and what you can do is you can I can filter and I can add them to different teams. So one of the things that's pretty painful about adding people to teams is you have to do it one by one within the system. Or you can, I don't know if you can do it by multi-select, but in this view, you can select all the people that need to be added, and then you can add them into a specific view, and then you can add them to that. Or actually, sorry, this is security role. You can add them into the security role. The next one does teams. So you can very quickly add the one security role to multiple people, which allows, so if you have to create a new security role, you have to assign it to everybody in the organization or just maybe a subset of your users. You can come in here and assign that very easily. The other thing is you can also remove a role, which I find really helpful if you find out that a group of users have the wrong security role. Like maybe people start deleting things and you're like, oh goodness, I need to remove this security role from people. You can do it pretty quickly in here rather than having to go individually to each and every user inside of Dynamics to do that. So like I said, the the XRM Toolbox is here to help save you time and make things a little bit easier. Robert, I see your question. It does sound like that this session is recorded, and Diane, where does it get posted afterwards?
Yeah, so the session will be recorded. It'll be on the Doug user group under their YouTube channel for the user group sessions.
Awesome. Makad, you have another question?
Yes, the tab you've opened doesn't show the complete name. Does it end with reports? Is that the tool?
Oh, that's a good question. So it is called, yes, it ends with report.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What the report part of it is, you can also generate a report here, and it'll create a file and it'll show you the security roles that people have assigned to them. So if for some reason you needed to have some sort of security documentation, I know that I've worked in organizations that want a hard copy of security for audits and things like that. You can, using that generate report, you can actually create a list of the security roles that all of your users have access to or have assigned to them. And then there's another XRM Toolbox tool that will show you what each security level the role itself has. So
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. All right, I have one more tool that I wanted to share with everyone today. This is the User Security Manager. So again, as a admin, security was one of the biggest things that I had to deal with and work with my users on. So what this does is it actually allows you to see all of the different aspects of a person's security. So let's say that a user is not able to do a function, right? They're coming to you and saying, hey, this button isn't there. I'm getting an error message. Very easily and quickly, you can see all the security roles they have. You can see the teams that they're a part of. You can see if they have, if they're missing field security profiles. All of that is here. And the great thing is that you can actually very easily and quickly assign them the security role or add them to the teams that they need to in order to complete their functions. So you can see very quickly that I went ahead and did that. It might take a second to actually update, but it will make that update to that end user and update their security. Again, it probably takes a couple minutes for it to show up on their side, have them refresh their screen or clear their cache, but you can, in one look, just see everything that affects that user's security. So I would say the last one and this one are pretty similar, but they do just have different functions. This is a 1-by-1. And the last one that I showed was you could assign security roles to multiple, or you could remove security roles from multiple. So this is, you have one user that's experiencing a problem versus you need to add something to multiple. Any other questions? Any questions on apps that or issues that y'all are facing that Jared, we will definitely get you an answer on your question, but are there any other kind of pain points that y'all are having today that you're wondering if there's a tool out there?
This tool doesn't have a search box. I can't see a search box for for example, that security role tool. So do I have to scroll down the list?
The one that we're on right now?
The previous to that,
the previous one.
Yeah, that one there. So
yes, there is no search bar on this one. That's correct.
But it allows multiple selections.
It does, yeah.
That's useful. Okay.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where sometimes there are multiple tools that do similar things. Like the artifact manager and the view manager. I personally like the view manager better, but I know a lot of people who prefer the artifact, right? You just got to find the one that fits what you're looking for. You could always provide feedback as well, right, on their website and say, hey, you know what, a search bar here would be really helpful.
Thank you.
So Ashley, is there something that will actually describe what each of these tools are and how they work?
Yep,
Or you
great
just have to
question.
do the search, and if it's, you know, a user or a view or something of that nature, you just need to see which ones pop up when you put in the search.
Yeah, so I mean, there is this brief description here. I know it's not super long, right, for all of these, but it does kind of give you just at least a brief look at what they do. Again, the categories, right? So if I'm looking for something within, you know, I have a data issue, you know, it'll filter down everything to that fits into the data category. The other thing that you can do, and I had this pulled up when you mentioned, Liz, that DynamicsCon Virtual is available, that is open for sessions. Make sure y'all submit those. Here within the XrmToolBox website, you'll see that you can select tools here. You can search here as well, or filter by the categories. And when you open this up, it will also give you, you know, some of them have more of a description. Some have reviews, you know, that can give you some feedback as well. They have project sites, things like that. So there is sometimes more information on the website to give you just a little bit overview of what the tool itself can do. I will say that a lot of it is just trial and error of finding the right tool of what you need. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I do see a question in the chat. Is there any tool to manage export import solutions? Oh, yes. Yes, there definitely is. That is a great question. So I'm going to go ahead and filter here by solutions. So I personally have not done a ton with solutions inside of the XrmToolBox except to compare solutions from one environment to the other. Like if I couldn't get a managed and a solution to move because there were errors and things like that. There is one in here, like the dependency identifier, that is really helpful. But yeah, there are solution import right here. So there's one here that can help. There's layer removal, things like that. So there are definitely a few tools in here that can help with solution importing. Obviously, if you're using ADO, that's another option as well, using the ALM features. So rather than moving solutions, you can just move changes from one environment to the other pretty easily. But that is a whole other conversation, and one that I am not qualified to lead. Dennis, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, just want to let everyone know that there is a data restoration tool in there that saved us a couple of times when specific users have deleted data by accident. So highly recommend that.
Yes, this is in my favorite list. So I actually, if I go back to my slides here, so I did include, we'll make sure that these slides get to you guys as well, but I have a list here of like my favorite, you know, ones that we didn't cover today. But like the recycle bin is the one that Dennis that you're talking about. I believe if I understood correctly, but what it does is it allows you to go in, and as long as you're auditing your records, it will let you restore that record into the system. Obviously, I try to warn people, like, just don't give people delete privileges. But if you can't help it, this does exist. The one thing that I will say is be careful with your what's the word I'm looking for? Your relationships, your cascading relationships. So if you delete an account and you have in there to also delete all of its contacts, but you have a primary contact on that account, you can't restore it because the contact no longer exists, but you can't restore the contact because the account no longer exists. So I always caution people to be very careful about your cascading relationships and make sure that those are up to date. I believe there's a session on that at DynamicsCon, or if there's not, we'll make sure there's one at virtual. But you know, to make sure that you understand like how those relationships work. But yeah, this tool has saved. I had a salesperson once delete like 100 phone calls that he had scheduled over the next 2 years because he just accidentally hit delete and they all disappeared. So we used the recycle bin to bring them all back. Any other thoughts, questions, any other tools that anyone on the call loves and you use and want to share with people? Share with everyone?
I use Fetch XML all the time.
Yes, the Fetch XML is an awesome tool. Do you want to talk to us about how you use it or situations?
Yeah, so I build a lot of Power Automate flows, right? And it really helps to narrow down the queries and stuff. So you can just put your entity in, add the filters. This is an amazing tool, and it also shows you the result right away on the results section. But it gives you an option to export and convert into Power Automate or other views as well.
Yeah, I know people that do Power Automate use this quite a bit. It's helpful to create those filters without having to do that directly in Power Automate. So, anyone else? Any tools that you use?
I only used as an admin the user setting utility, and I had no idea what this XRM is capable of. I'm super happy. It's going to save me a lot of time. I added all those tabs that you have added there. I can use every single one of them.
Good. That's awesome. So I'll go ahead and wrap up and then, oh, Debbie, did you have a question? I'm sorry, I just saw you came off mute.
Oh, no, I don't have a questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ryan.
Yeah,
I
how
see
do
your hand
you
up.
favorite a tool to add it to your favorites list?
Favorites. So I just know how to install them, and then they end up in your tool. So if you want to add a new one into your toolbox, you just select it and then you choose this install button. This is clearly one that I already have in my toolbox. So you just select it here and then put install. I don't know if you can then favorite it once it's in here.
Okay.
But then it's here. And what I always recommend is that if a tool doesn't work for you or if it's not what you're looking for, remove it from your toolbox. You know, you can just right click and uninstall. There is actually an add to favorites here. Look at that. I've never noticed that. I've just uninstalled them.
Cool.
I'm
Good
so
to know.
glad you asked that question. Let's see what happens if I favorite it. I'm not sure. Does anyone know? Yeah, have never used that before. So anyways, I just uninstall it. So
I got a sneaking suspicion when you go back to the tool library, there's a star beside it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Not sure, but I think that's what it does.
Okay. Nice. Very cool. I'll go ahead and wrap so I can get it back over to Diane. So like I said, we'll get you these PowerPoint slides just so you have them as reference. I also include some of my favorites in here and links to where they are on the website to find out more about what they do. But again, just wanted to make sure you have my contact info. I am happy to help answer any questions that you have at any time. Like I said, I use the XrmToolBox almost daily. And so does my team. I've made my team big believers of it as well. So please reach out. Happy to help however I can. And thanks for letting me join your session today. This was fun. So I appreciate being here.
Awesome. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Ashley.
Thanks so much.
So much great information in a very short period of time, and we appreciate all of your expertise. I'm sure there'll be questions as people get in and looking around. And yes, we'll get the PowerPoints out to everyone. The recording will be available. In a few days, we'll update this chat once it's available. I added the link to the YouTube channel and playlist for once it's available. And again, thank you, Ashley, for your time, and thanks everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, everybody.